Hey there, marvelous viewers! In today's video, we're here to talk about why a True Lies sequel has never happened and what it would take. Let's get into it. The picture-perfect suburban life with wife and kids, and the guy being a super spy behind the scenes might be cliche now, but back in the 90s, it was all the rage. And this exactly was the essence of the 1994 film True Lies, directed by James Cameron. Yes, the very director who directed sci-fi movies like Aliens, The Terminator, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It was definitely a shift in genre, which some might not have expected, but there's no denying that the movie earned $378 million in the box office, which was a major hit during that time, and it's no wonder it became a fan favorite. So why has a sequel never happened after all this? That's what we're here to talk about today, so without wasting any more time, let's begin. True Lies tells us the story of Harry Tasker, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's married to Helen, portrayed by Jamie Lee Curtis, and has a daughter named Dana. They know that Harry works as a salesman for computer hardware, but that's far from the truth, because he actually works for this top-secret US counterterrorism organization called Omega Sector. When he tells his family he's going to work conventions, he's actually going on missions to infiltrate and deal with terrorist organizations that are posing a threat. All in all, when the truth comes out, it's entertaining and hilarious. It's no wonder why this movie became the action comedy of the decade. I mean, it had everything. $378 million worldwide grossing when the budget was only around $100 million, and strong reviews. It has like a 77% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which definitely hints that the audiences loved it. Jamie Lee Curtis got a career-redefining role with this movie, which is very different from all the Scream Queen parts she had been getting since her work in Halloween. And get this, the movie featured some really amazing practical action set pieces, like a horse on a rooftop, Schwarzenegger leaping between helicopters, or a Harrier jet hovering over the Miami Bridge. And this was all happening pre-CGI, which makes it even more special. And that's not all. The movie was genuinely funny, which is very rare for big action movies because James Cameron himself wrote every joke. So of course, after such a massive hit, Tom Arnold and Schwarzenegger met with Cameron to discuss the possibility of True Lies 2, which would obviously bring back Jamie as well. But at the time, James Cameron was busy with Titanic, so until the release of the movie in the year 1997, Cameron didn't start anything new. But after that, he was planning on working on True Lies 2. He was determined since he started searching for a writer to work on the sequel, and then in 1999, Cameron, along with 20th Century Fox, was in talk with Jeff Easton, who was well known for his work on White Collar, and they wanted him to write the sequel under Cameron's supervision. They were planning for a 2001 release in the middle of the year, with plans that Cameron would produce it, and possibly direct it, once the script was complete. So together, Easton and Cameron worked on the script for almost 1.5 years, and the actors really liked it. Everything was all set to begin, the script was ready, actors were ready and confirmed. It was almost like the universe was on their side and they were going to get that sequel. But then 9/11 happened, after which the stars really didn't align. When IGN reporters caught up with Schwarzenegger around January 2002, he said, "We'll shoot it next year. We have a good script. There does need to be some changes because it deals with some terrorist act of some sort, but it's pretty much done." However, later in 2002, when the same questions were asked of Cameron, he said, "Terrorism is no longer something to take as lightly as we did in the first one. I just can't see it happening given the current world climate." Despite ongoing rumors about a sequel, which gave fans hope and some cast members expressed a wish for Cameron to return and make it happen, the project's future remains uncertain. It was still delayed, and once screenwriter Easton mentioned that it was Schwarzenegger's political career as the governor that affected the project. Nevertheless, in 2009, Cameron gave a clear response on this to Ain't It Cool via Den of Geek. He said, "There are no plans for True Lies 2. Since September 11, I've never felt comfortable generating laughs with nuke-toting Islamic fundamentalist terrorists. True Lies, even though it has a cautionary thread underneath the pratfalls, is in a strange way a product of a more innocent time." And when you really think about it, the phrase "a product of a more innocent time" really tells us what happened with this sequel. The reason why director James Cameron walked away from it wasn't because the story had become stale, it was because the world that inspired that story had changed so much that it didn't seem relevant anymore. But still, fans were hopeful for almost a decade. Tom Arnold, who was Schwarzenegger's co-star and sidekick in the OG film, always mentioned whenever he was interviewed that True Lies 2 is right around the corner and it's definitely happening. This is what Tom said when he was interviewed by MovieWeb in 2011. "I have read a great True Lies 2 script, and I hope we're able to do it. Knock on wood." Arnold Schwarzenegger is excited. I'm excited. We've both read the script. There's a script that James Cameron and a guy named Jeff Easton, who created the TV show White Collar, wrote. It was really great. Jim can't direct it, but he can produce it. We hope it gets done. It definitely created hype, but then nothing happened, which broke people's hearts. But then in 2003, the story did get a revamp in the form of a CBS TV series starring Steve Howey as Harry Tasker and Ginger Gonzaga as his wife Helen, with James Cameron as the executive producer. Guess what? Tom Arnold even returned for a guest role, which gave the show a small bridge back to the original film. The series followed some elements from the 1994 premise, but one thing new about this one was that Helen joined the Omega Sector and became the central part of the story. Now, Harry wasn't hiding his spy life from Helen, it was them hiding their double life from their two kids, which made this super interesting. It's disappointing the series wasn't renewed for a second season and had such a short run. It also highlights how major networks like CBS are struggling to build audiences, since streaming now dominates how most people watch. So yeah, they had to cancel it, which disheartened the fans once again. Is that it? I don't think so, because around 2019, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was reprising his famous role, the T-800 character from the latest Terminator Dark Fate movie, he was exclusively interviewed by Screen Rant. Schwarzenegger implied that he's very much open to working in more franchise movies beyond Terminator, and guess what? When he asked about legacy sequels for True Lies or Last Action Hero, he stated that it's always up to the fans, if they demand to see another movie like that. Of course, the story is also very important for the actor because he said, if a script is great, I do it. But what about Jamie Lee Curtis and her interest in the True Lies sequel? Curtis has told Entertainment Tonight during her 2025 interview that she's still hoping for a True Lies 2 because after revisiting her characters from Freaky Friday and Halloween, Jamie said that she would be happy to reprise her role as Helen Tasker. But it should be noted that Curtis isn't really holding her breath for a sequel to happen because, all you know, Cameron would need to be a part of it to make it happen. She commented, "I always hoped that Arnold Schwarzenegger and I would get to do True Lies again. I don't think it'll happen because it could only happen if Jim Cameron wrote it. I don't think we would ever do it without him. That was obviously a movie that changed my life in a big way." And there it is again. Cameron wrote the jokes, but he's busy now making Avatar sequels, and if there are no jokes by him, there's no True Lies sequel. So what would it actually take to get a True Lies sequel made in 2026? Of course, you want Cameron to be the actual writer, not just a producer or executive producer, and to write every single element. Jokes, character dynamics, and action set pieces. Cameron himself has said that the world after 9/11 makes it really tough to approach the film's terrorist theme with the same humor and lightheartedness. And to make it happen, things need to change a lot. Like the creative team would have to either completely redo the villain aspect of the franchise, or wait long enough for a new perspective to make it workable again. And so far, neither of those options has come up, and no one involved has indicated a clear way forward. And right now, we all know James Cameron is busy with Avatar 4 and 5, and he's also linked to a long-planned adaptation of the book Hiroshima. With so much already on his plate, he doesn't really have time for a sequel to a 30-year-old action comedy that he's called culturally complex. Now, as far as Schwarzenegger is concerned, he'll be 77 in 2026. I know he's still active with Fubar on Netflix and various appearances now and again, but the chances for him to take on a physical action film like True Lies get slimmer every year that doesn't see a green light. And as of May 2026, I think the same as what Jamie Lee said in Parade magazine, which was, "No, I know why it can't. It was fantastic, and it was written really well. Jim Cameron wrote that movie. He wrote those jokes. It's really funny." She didn't say won't, she said can't. And that distinction itself tells us the whole story. So what are your thoughts on this? Share them in the comments section below. Until next time, thanks for watching.